Welcome back, everyone. We heard some great piping from Stuart in the first session, and our second guest today is Bruce Gandy from Halifax, Nova Scotia. Welcome back, Neil.
Oh, hello again.
Here we go. When I think of Bruce Gandy, I think of a true Canadian piper. I think of cities like Victoria, Toronto, Halifax, and there may be others. Bruce could clarify. Bruce is a top piper in the world. He's won both gold medals, the Braddock Gorm from London, and so many other things, that almost everything that you can win, he's won. So, but as well, he's a prolific composer with books and recordings out there. Someone like yourself, Neil.
Well, I've got a book.
But you compose a lot. And you know, but there's no doubt that Bruce's roots are in Victoria, BC. His father, Ray Gandy, was a piper in the Canadian Scottish Regiment. And something that Bruce and I have in common is we have ties with Jamie Troy and the City Victoria Pipe Band Grade 1. Jamie took Bruce under his wing. It was kind of funny. It was like a protege he was bringing around to the games. It was pretty cute and great. But I recall Bruce being this little wee guy. I think he was 12 years old when he came in. And I was in there too, but I was kind of heading out to do my own thing. But I was there too. And when he came, he was about literally half the size of the average piper in the band. He was so wee. It was fantastic. I think we can welcome Bruce in now and say hello.
Hello, Bruce.
Hi, how you doing, Neil?
You're not so wee now, eh?
No, I guess age and COVID is helping us all out.
Exactly. Bruce, great to see you. Thanks for doing this.
Oh, pleasure, Terry. Pleasure.
You know, yeah. How are you doing, and how's Halifax, and how's the family?
Family's doing good. You know, as the bubbles open up, we're able to see Alex and Chanter now quite regularly because that's allowed. You know, my other son Fraser lives in Edmonton, so I don't get to see him as much, and who knows when I'm going to get to see him again when the travel comes.
I'll go visit him for you.
Please do. That'll help. And you know, we're getting through it now. You know, the East Coast has a later weather schedule than most places, so it took a while to not just be looking out at the gray and the snow and the rain and going crazy, but we've had some good weather for the last couple of weeks, and the spirit around the town is noticeably better.
Good. Speaking of family, Bruce, your wife Beverly, I recall her being a piper in the 78th Frasers, and is that how you met? And who all else is in the family, or who's related to who, and how's Alex doing, etc.?
Yeah, I met Bev actually in 1982 when I flew out to Toronto for the Livingston Invitational that year, and met her there. And then we got together back and forth a few times during that year, and I moved out in 1982. Tied in with the Rollo family, which is, that's a lot of questions and a long start there, but their whole family, Bev, her father, Ronnie Rollo, who is a whole lot of things to me. He was, a father-in-law, a dad, a coach, a mentor. He was my boss. We played darts together. He cheated at golf when he played with me. Things like that. Taught me about some good whiskey. He was kind of a lot of things. Her brother Ian played in the band in the Frasers with me for several years. Sister Ainsley danced for many years and danced with us in the Frasers as well. So it's all kind of tied together.
Right.
And we've got Alex and Fraser, both players as well. Alex, as you know, or you might be talking to him at some point in this, is I don't want to say up and coming anymore. He's there now playing and winning lots of big stuff and writing a lot of good music, leading our band, thankfully, so I don't have to do that.
Right, great stuff. And
Fraser's living in Edmonton, playing with.
So, heading west, what does Victoria mean to you in your life?
Kind of everything. It's my true roots of playing. I think about all of the playing that I learned there, and the people that I learned from, and the people that helped me. The biggest thing in my life now is trying to keep playing, mostly with a lot of inspiration from your brother Jack. He kind of helps keep me going, and I hope vice versa. We have a great relationship that way, friendly competitors. But I think about, I'm at that place now where I really like to do help where I can to other people, more so than before. And I still want to play and try and win things, but if I don't, it doesn't really matter anymore. You know, so I don't know if you're planning to talk about the charity, but that's kind of like a big part of my life now, is to figure out how to help. It took several years until sort of a major kind of health event in 2011 struck me, and a lot of people got in touch with me on one certain evening in a giant chat, and it had nothing to do with piping and not being at an event. It was to make sure I was okay, etc. And it just kind of, I need to do something. You know, these people they're not clients, they're real friends. You know, and all the people like Jamie Troy, Hal Senek, the Lees, Dave Hennigan, Warren Fells. There's a lot that I'll probably miss the name, but as you said, I was just, you know, I was 12 when I started competing with the band, and I was kind of 10 and a bit when I started hanging out.
Wow.
You know, at the band practices, because otherwise Troy would have to drive me home and then come back for bed. So I would go up for staying and learning and playing jigs and hanging about and get a bag of chips and a pop. And, you know, everybody looked after me. You know, our family, we had a lot of kids. We weren't wealthy or anything. And, you know, the fact that my parents knew I was at a safe environment was sort of, well, there, he's looked after, and that's one headache out of their way. You know, that was something good. So I think about that an awful lot now when I'm teaching and doing workshops. And, you know, when I see people that are helpful and deserving, I look for money to help them out because I know they're going to pay it forward too.
Good stuff. And we will talk about that, you know, but you're right. As we get a bit older, we tend to reminisce a little bit more and appreciate things a bit more, perhaps. So good stuff. And, you know, product-wise, we have a connection with Tartantown as well with you. The Gandy Chanter has been very, you know, successful. It's been a hit. How's that development going for you? Did it take a while to do this, and how's it going?
It took quite a while to really get what I'm currently happy with. You know, I made one in, I'm going to say it was 2003, and we sort of modeled it off of an old Sinclair I had. That was a beautiful resonant chanter, but the holes had been carved out, and I was just starting to have a little problem with playing it, and I was worried I was going to crack it. So I asked if we could make a model sort of like it, and we started work from then. I made another one in 2011, and then in 2015, we started getting involved together with Alex, helped me out a lot more at this point, and we were looking for a way to make it potentially be a band chanter for lower grade bands and a solo chanter. And, you know, my requirements were vibration and a P-Rick G, and the rest was up to the engineers. Do what you have to do, but I better get a P-Rick G or I'm not even going to look at it.
Right.
And that was sort of all we'd aimed for. And then 2017, we went back again because I've been having years add up on my birth certificate, I guess is what it really is, but I honestly can't reach very well on bigger hold chanters anymore. So my logic in the whole chanter thing was if I brought those couple notes up in the bottom and went from here to here, so it was less spread, I could comfortably play it. That would actually mean that the low A for a number, instead of it being, you know, the read in here, 479, it's now 481 in a comfortable place. I'm not reefing it into the chanter. And with luck, that means that the top pan's not going to be quite so sharp. So hopefully we don't tape it down. It was really flimsy kind of logic that I was applying, but trying to make it work where the reed would balance to sort of where I play it and Alex plays it today in that sort of 81, 82 pitch that I like, where the G's not so sharp and things like that. And comfortable. I could play B strikes again. I mean, and I really couldn't. I still can't on my big band chanters. Sometimes that spread just hurts my hand.
Right.
So that's where the development of that came, and it's gone quite well for lots of people, you know. And who knows how long it'll last? I guess if I was being a smart aleck, I'd say it'll last until the reed makers decide they need to change the pitch and alter everything.
Right.
And then chanter makers have to change because they have to chase each other around a tree for the next great thing in a band. Right. You know, the winning band dictates what goes.
It's so true. So true. Now, Bruce, you've had a a few tragic accidents or events in Nova Scotia in the last little while. It's not been the best time, unfortunately. We feel for you guys. And one of them was particularly close to you, and it kind of ties in with your charity of choice. Can you tell us your connection to that event, please?
Yeah, the 6 people that were on the helicopter with the Canadian Navy, one of them was a young lady named Abigail Cowbrough, and I taught her for a couple of years. She was an extremely smart, upbeat, positive, unbelievable role model for young women, and like always a blast here. The kind of person that I'd see her, I'd put the kettle on, we'll have tea. I always booked an extra half hour so we could chit chat, you know,
Right.
and did things like, you know, I mean, I was happy to tell her how proud I was. At 22, she bought a house, kind of thing.
Wow.
You know, she went straight into engineering school and got out of it and joined the Navy. Not even positive she was supposed to be on that helicopter, but she just wanted to be in on everything and advance at everything. And I think she, you know, worked her way into it, according to her mom, like to get me on this mission. And, you know, we still don't really know, it doesn't matter what happened, but it was really tragic. And it just kind of, it really hurt me in the gut bad. I've got her bagpipe here now.
Wow.
You know,
Bruce, I saw you playing at her funeral, at her funeral, and it was must have been very emotional.
Yeah, it was really, it was pretty difficult. And I have to say that the thing that made it bearable was the fact that, you know, I was out there for a while as we waited for this motorcade, and I was in the funeral home training up, and there was 2 pipe bands that you might have seen at the beginning, or the 3 pipe bands that all got together that she was
Right.
involved with. So I got to hear a bit and see a bit, and there was so much TV camera. And I also knew that the public wasn't going to be allowed in after the first sort of 40 seconds of my playing. So I knew that I just had to play Going Home as they brought her out and the camera was on. And then when I turned to go in, they would show that, but the doors were going to close. And because they didn't want public in, it was only going to be the family viewing and everything as they brought the casket up.
Right.
So it kind of just, I thought, okay, I can get through this, you know, for a 40 seconds or a minute without cracking up or anything. And then, you know, as we got inside, it became pretty tough. I think my tone started to a bit as I shook a bit watching this casket go by. And, you know, just purely tragic and awful.
Yeah.
Just, you know, amongst the other craziness that's gone on here, you know, it's just put over the top.
Exactly. And people, you know, this is to reach out and to help if people out there can help. But I understand we can do that through the brucegandyfoundation.org, and there's a donate button there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the website address. Yeah,
Okay.
Bruce Gandy Foundation.
We're going to show that too in the description here.
It's not really called that. There's a donate button. We're working on getting a new process going up to build this scholarship up really good. I have a $500 offer in from a band and asking people to try and match it. I have one person who's said, absolutely, I'm going to match it. So, you know, hopefully we'll write it up. And I'm just not a professional fundraiser, and it's a learning game to me.
Of
But
course.
we'd like to bring that up, you know, to reach our $20,000 goal, so that
Good.
someone is going to get a scholarship every year forever, not just a couple $1,000s and it runs out in 3 or 4 years. It's just a wonderful way to go the whole time.
Good stuff. And we at Tartantown will also be donating there as well. So let's hope we can get something going there. And Bruce, we're going to take a look at your first video now that you've done for us. Thank you very much. And it's a set of 6/8 marches, both Bruce Gandy original tunes. Fantastic. And after this video, we'll come back and Neil will be interviewing you directly for a little bit. So let's take a look and a listen right now.
All right, it's just you and me, Bruce. How you doing?
Great. It's
Nice 6/8. How recent are those two that you just played?
Those 6/8. Actually, they're quite old, really. Gavin Manson, I wrote, well, you're testing me now, maybe 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Both, that was a commission from a friend of mine that I taught. Great young lady named Rowan Manson, who came over from New Zealand to the College of Piping and then came and actually lived with us in Halifax for a while. Her dad was a major player as an organizer and a leading drum major in New Zealand for many years. And she wanted this tune for him for obviously a 6/8 for up and down the field. So I made that for them. And then the other one is called Bruce McLean at Tiverton. And that's written for Bruce McLean, who I played with many years in the Frasers. And
the Bruce McLean we all know.
Yes, it was just.
I didn't know what Tiverton is. That's all.
That's just a wee town up in the Bruce Peninsula near the hydro plant up there where he lived. And it was just a nice 6/8. He went, "Hey, I really like that." I went, "Yeah, as you know, Neil, sometimes." Okay, well then that's where the name's going to go.
So I wanted to ask you about what's going on just now. You're teaching at the Citadel in Halifax, and that's a full-time gig for you. And you teach online as well, other students outside of Halifax?
Yeah. So
is there a staff at the Citadel, or is it just you? How does that work?
The Halifax Citadel Society is a business that administers the living reenactment that goes on, much like people have seen in Colonial Williamsburg and other places. So our whole staff and everyone there runs a reenactment from the time of 1869 to 1871 when the British Army was there. I teach the piping to a lot of the students there, and then they have a summer band of whoever they can get. Some years it's very big, some years it's small. And my 9 to 5, if we want to call it that, is to work with, at this time of year, I work with those students a bit, and I teach just other people that I teach within the city and stuff like that. They're just signed up as our music school kind of thing, for lack of better terms. And then I do other teaching, which helps offset my pay and saves money for them too, as it's done.
So the three guests we have today, Stuart Liddell, yourself, and Jack Lee, the thing you have in common is each of you have had significant success in solos and in your pipe band lives as well. And I want to ask you about the balance of those two things as you were growing up. Like you mentioned before when you were talking to Terry about going to the City Victoria practice and stuff. Who was your first teacher? Was it Troy, Jamie Troy?
Hal Senek.
Oh, really? Okay.
Hal Senek was my first teacher. And he, at the time, and these are things that didn't seem like anything then. At the time Hal was finishing university, he didn't have 2 pennies to rub together, and neither did our family really, but there was food, and Hal would come over and he got a big meal, and Tupperwares or whatever mom had to send home with them. And that was kind of the fee for teaching me most of the time. And he spent some time with me, and he got fed, and I remember he rode his bike over, to come and give me lessons. And I keep trying to get a hold of him again to find out exactly how long we worked. It wasn't too long, maybe I want to say 8 or 9 months, maybe, or maybe a little longer. We were through the execution and all the movements, because back in those days we learned how to play all of the embellishments.
Did you do sorry to interrupt, did you do the Logan's Tutor?
No, you know what? I honestly don't. I think I just did full scap music. It was a mix of their stuff. The exercises, kind of the Archie Cairns manual, I think, would be more like that. But it was.
And then from Hal, who did you move on to from Hal then?
Well, Hal angered me, because he up and got this gig with the Mirrorheads, which was awesome for him. Although I didn't think that as an 8-year-old or whatever. I think I was 8 then. I'm like, where you get off leaving me, and now, but they had already teed it up with Jamie Troy, and Hal convinced him to take me on because Jamie wanted nothing to do with a young person who was beginning. So they convinced him, and he said he would try it for a while, and we got on really well, and it worked out to my advantage.
So now you and I have a very good mutual friend in Alec McIntyre, and when I told Alec I was going to be doing this, he said ask him about the piping schools, because I guess a lot of your formative years you went to, was it Coeur d'Alene or
Coeur d'Alene.
What was the other one? Coeur d'Alene and
Capel.
the other one in the west. What?
Comox
Yeah.
for a couple of years had one, and that was a great school for I think 3 years.
And that would be where you were exposed to like Bob Hardy, Donald McLeod, guys like that?
Bob Hardy was the guy out on the West Coast for the Comox school, and we got a lot of time with him at a time that I was maybe 15, 16, 17 at that point. So I was sucking it up good, and there wasn't many grade 1 type people at that point, or open and stuff. There was sort of grade 3s and 4s, and then Pete Amonier and myself, and who else was there?
Well, I understand guys like Ian McCrimmon, Dan Deasner, Alec McIntyre.
Oh, Coeur d'Alene. Oh, they were all down there, and I was the kid at that.
Okay.
And I got a lot of exposure. And again, Andrew Wright, Bob Hardy, McCrimmon, McIntyre, those guys all looked after me in Coeur d'Alene. And if there's, it's like, keep the kid off the street or keep him out of the baseball park. Well, let's get him in, because at the end of the day, it was always a class where Andy and Bob taught the instructors. But I got dragged into that, which half the time I was like, oh, really? But it was kind of like babysitting as well, because they had to look after me, and they didn't want to miss the class. So, well, unfortunately.
So you weren't given a cigarette? I know Bob Hardy used to pass out the cigarettes before a period class.
No, I think actually I probably had to ask for one later on or something when that time came. But no, I wasn't given any cigarettes. But yeah, they used to all do that. They'd all have a beer, and I'd be.
So through your formative years, like, who would have been the single biggest, most consistent influence on you in solo terms, not pipe band?
Jamie Troy. I had him from the time I was 8 or 9 till I left when I was 19. But I tell people that 10 years was more like 35, because I never had a lesson that didn't go at least 3 to 4 hours. When I was 11 and 12, I was getting really tired on a Wednesday morning at school because I was so late that, the parents and him developed this great plan that Jamie would pick me up at 4 o'clock when he got off work. He'd be at the house at 10 past 4, pick me up and take him to the house. That way we could get some done before dinner, have a quick bite, and be done, and I'd be home. Well, that lasted for like 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden we're watching the news or whatever and eating the dinner, and then we're back to playing, and it's still 10:30 and 11 when I'm getting home. So I learned just a tremendous amount of tunes, and Jamie gave me a lot of P-Ricks. Bob Hardy was really influential in coaching me personally at Coeur d'Alene all the time. I got spoiled when I was at Coeur d'Alene. I always got extra lessons and extra time with him and Andrew Wright.
So I want to ask, because you're teaching, and people who are watching this are people who want to know how to learn or how to practice. I talked to Stuart before about the way he practices. I want to ask you about what you learn from your instructors and what you tell your students about the learning process, how to get tunes into your head and to retain that, and how to perfect the technique and the expression and stuff like that.
Well, I think there's just kind of a couple stages, at least 2 more, but in life right now, where when we're young, if we're lucky enough to be taught well and fairly talented, I don't remember learning tunes. I just grabbed them, learned them, played them. And I do remember a lot of it because Alex, for an example, was terrible in our band when he first came to the grade 1 band. And Rod McLean was the pipe major, and he used to be furious every week because he'd be screaming, "Alex, take your music." And he's like, "Nah, I don't take my music. I'll be staring at it all week. I won't learn it that way. This way I'll learn it if I just remember it." And I remember as a kid, I could learn tunes just like that. But now as we age, as you know, the short-term memory is not near as good. And so my practicing now is very methodical on how much I practice and how I work myself up to an event. For instance, I actually played one yesterday, an online event, So I played sort of during the week and ramped myself up to make sure I was physically in good shape and not dealing with these terrible hand issues, that I could play through and be confident for a whole Pibroch. And then I work, when it's not really close to the event, I'll work a lot on my technique and stuff. And I'm lucky that I get to teach so much that I'm working on technique all the time, or embellishments.
What regimen do you encourage your students to go through? Like a little bit of practice, chanter technique, then on the pipes, and then new tunes, old tunes? Like, is there a formula or anything that you go through?
A little bit. I tell them a few things. One thing is that, you know, if you don't have time, just play your pipes, get it done with, and spend what other amount of time you can focus on some embellishment. Don't try and cover 8 different things you got wrong last week. You know, your crossing noise, your tactum, your E doublage, your D throw. Just fix one of them and be happy with that, and then record the tune and go, wow, all the D throws are good. Tick, and be happy with that and move along. And I'm really, really pro because of the amount of recording I do now. I make them all record. They have to record all the time. Because
back in the day, we just used to have a mirror. We didn't have recordings.
Yeah, and well, that's right. And it was hard to do. Or you play and your teacher's like, well, I think you're speeding up and you're kind of rushing this bar or that bar. And you go, geez, I don't remember that. But when they record it and you listen back, and, well, geez, I didn't realize I was doing that. And then it fixes it so much quicker. So
I want to then now talk about the transition from player into composer. Because when I was taught, numerous instructors in pipe bands, but principally, I went to Duncan Johnson and Donald McLeod in my teenage years. And at the beginning of lessons, when I was learning stuff, there wasn't a lot of playing. There was a hell of a lot of singing. And what the routine I got into was, if I was given a new piece of music, they would say, okay, sing it to me, right? First, before you even touch your chanter or anything. And part of that, and then Duncan was the person who said to me, all right, now I want you to, you've sung it once, write the first part. And the discipline of writing music evolved from that. I want to know, where did the writing part of your piping career come from? How did that evolve?
Right from the very beginning. Right from the beginning. And I'm a big fan of that still, in that I can say for the first 20 tunes I learned, I had to present the written copy before.
Me too, yeah.
Or Jamie would listen to it. And it had to be neat enough that I could read off that. I wasn't getting the Donald McLeod book or the Scots Guards to read out of the nice one. You read this one. And if it's not clean enough to read, then it's not good enough to play. And so
did you find that you learned a certain discipline about the mathematics of the structure of the music and stuff by doing that?
Very much so. And it made it easy. You know, I mean, I have a piece of paper here because I was composing yesterday, and I still lay my music out with bars and grids right away, because then in my head I could think, okay, here's an opening phrase, here's something, here's an ending phrase, and I know right where to put it so it's not a jumbled mess, and can fill it in like a puzzle. But, you know, when I was in Victoria at the beginning, they were just starting to come up with very primitive, but a change from March, Strathspey, reel, hornpipe, jig, and that's your medley.
Yeah.
You know, just starting to ever so slightly evolve. So we thought about stuff, and I would think about stuff that I learned from Jamie teaching me the difference between a 5/4 and a 4/4 in a time. Like, here's what it is. And John Fisher was really active at that time. So I learned a lot of kind of rhythmic theory and how to count from them. And we'd play to a metronome sometimes, just as an exercise to make sure we could, but not as a this is the way it has to be, which a lot of people do now, and you and I both.
So when you're writing something, it was funny you mentioned filling in the puzzle, because that's exactly how it works with me. Is I'll be driving in the car, well, not driving lately very much, but you know, wherever you are, in the shower or something, and a wee phrase will come to you, and sometimes it's just a bridge. It's like the 3rd and 4th bar, and then I'll build a tune around that, or I've got an ending phrase I think is quite unique, or sometimes like the Kitchen Piper, which I wrote decades ago, that began with the 3rd part, me playing that to Scott McCauley with all the Pelly hits and stuff in it, and then I built it out from there. Does it similarly work for you that way, or is you go from beginning to end?
No, sometimes it's beginning to end, but sometimes like I have an idea of what I'm maybe thinking of trying to write. I think I'm better if I just try and challenge myself. Like I feel like writing something. I haven't written a Strauss Bay. Let's start with that and think, do I want a minor key? Do I want a major key? What's the feeling I'm looking for as the end product? Oh, I need some happy tune. I need a Highland Fling tune. Okay, let's go there. And I might end up with a jig at the end of it, but it just gets the rhythmic thought pattern going for me, and I start rolling. But like you in the shower, I'm crazy on the phone now. I have that thing ready, and it's voice message, and I'll sing it right away because I'm feared I'll lose them all again.
Yeah, I remember, like, sometimes tunes will come to you when you're commissioned. You mentioned you were commissioned to do a tune. Remember Terry saying, I need a big, bold, walking in tune. And that's when I wrote The King of Carden Den, but specifically because Terry wanted to, like, have this big D type of thing in the beginning to show that we could play a D. It's funny where some of them come from. And, like, a lot of your tunes, sorry, let me back up a wee bit. I'm finding now that a lot of us who are writing, and I want to challenge, you're included there, and Roddy McDonald, Chris Armstrong, I want to challenge all of us to start writing some big tunes. There's a big gap. We're not getting big music anymore, like a nice big 4 parts for space, good competition marches that in 100 years people are going to regard as classics. Like, do you find them difficult to write?
Yes, because they're so in depth, and there's just more to them. And there's so many amazing phrases that work musically perfect that it's hard to not get yourself pigeonholed into them. And now you're just flipping around them and making it sound all, Mary Poppins after a while. And you can get you can turn out carnival music really fast, as we call it, Alex and I. If it, you just get bumping along trying to change something so it doesn't sound like the Highland Wedding. But the other, as you know and I know, the way that the greatest amount of compositions have come over the last 40 years is to fill a need for a pipe band. But it's really tough to get tunes that are, I hear so many tunes and people go, oh, that's great. And, we'll sit at home and, you won't hear that next year. That's good.
Right. It's kind of the big lighter thing, like use it and then throw away. And that's why we're all encouraged to write jigs and hornpipes, because that's what a lot of bands are looking to get to fill out the medley. And then you get played. All of a sudden, Field Marshall's playing your jig or something like that. But if you write a 2/4 march, I don't know who's going to play it, because everybody's scared to play new marches.
It's really tough. Alex plays some and enters them. I enter usually 1 or 2 of each at Oban and Inverness every year. And it's like, okay, you're getting Clan McCall, and you're also getting Ernest and Castle, but you're going to get a couple of Bruce Gandy tunes in there. And if you got the guts to pick them, then go to it. And I'm actually super proud that at London 3 years ago when I played, I won both I won the J.B. Robertson March and the hornpipe jig, playing all my own tunes that day. And I thought, this is super cool, and hopefully people will gravitate and they'll pick up some of these tunes. So I agree with you. We need bigger ones, but we need contests to encourage them. Not just the Donald McLeod event, which is awesome, but have these other tunes that say, next year at the indoor meet, you need to play a Neil Dickey tune in your March Strath Bay and Reel. Yeah. One of them has to be a Dickey tune or a Bruce tune or a Michael Ray tune or something, so that people are playing some of these. I've written.
Good point. Okay, we've been going a wee bit, and I've got a bit of time restriction because Terry's come on to say we're over our limit. But since Terry's here, I do want to talk briefly, Bruce, about your life in pipe bands, particularly in 78s. Something that came up when we talked to Stuart is one of the things he learned from his time in SFU was the value of a team effort, like a little core leadership group. And you went as a youngster, with 20, you were 20 when you joined
19 moved out,
Yeah. So, and you must have grown into the role, but I remember watching 78s through the 80s, and there was like John Walsh, Michael Gray, Bruce Gandy, and Bill. And, and a lot of it would have been Bill. How much did he involve you guys in the evolution of the band?
A lot. Bill's key thing was I want everybody to let me know what you think. I want to understand all of the pluses and minuses of every move we're going to play. But I remember him saying, but at the end, I'm going to make the final decision. He says, because it's all great if I get to go and get the trophy, but it's not so great when we're second and I have to be in the beer tent and listen to every single person there tell me how we sucked that day. And I thought, you know what, you're right. You know, it's yeehaw when you win, but it's terrible, which, you know, you see bands now, people don't even go to the beer tent after because of the swarming they get after. So Bill was very good. John Walsh came up with ideas and tunes quietly. Michael and I were, I kind of followed on to Michael's huge vocal thing. And, you know, Michael, I just have so much time for him because he never was scared of anything. It was never like, what if? Who cares what if? This is good. Let's just do it. And if we fall off the cliff, oh, well, we'll pick up and we'll play something new. And it was really good because it got me to experiment more and say, let's just go. Here we go.
Talking about commissioned tunes, one of the best opening tunes I've ever heard in my life was a collaboration between you and Michael, Up to the Line. How much of a collaboration was it? Which bit was you and which was him? How did that come about?
That was honestly 100% collaboration. Right in the
How did that work then? How did you do it?
He said we need a tune for the band, and I got this start. So he wrote the first couple of bars. And he went, there you go. Give me something that goes with that.
Was it 12/8 right from the kickoff?
12/8 right from the kickoff. He had that line, and he went, I like how it goes from F to E to D to B. Now do something. And I thought, well, it's a pretty easy answer. You know, change the notes and answer it melodically. But the funniest thing about that is that, you know, we wrote some of that on the way to Maxville. We played Maxville, and we were coming back to Brian Pollock's house, which was in Whitby from Maxville. It was a 3.5, 4-hour drive. And we were working away on this tune. And we're just, we had this. And when we were stuck, and we called it at the end, we got something, you know, and Beverly's just quietly reading in the back, which was great because, you know, Michael's going full tilt and she didn't need to see that, you know, the speedometer was going like that. And we're trying everything. And it's like, okay, that sounds stupid. And this is, you know, carnival music. This is too hard. This doesn't blend. And then all of a sudden, I honestly don't remember he did it or I did it or something. What about something? And then Beverly out of nowhere, hey, that's really good. So she sealed the deal and actually finished the tune. We're like, good. I'm like, okay, let me play the whole thing now. He was driving, so I was writing it out on the dashboard in the paper. And then we played it for the band an hour later, and they went, boom, sold. So, but it was a collaboration.
That's brilliant. We're at the end here, Bruce, but I always like to finish with some quick fire questions. So don't think about it, just answer these. All right? What's your favourite pint?
Guinness.
All right. What's your favourite bar to go to during the World's Week?
Geez, that's a tough one. I'm not a big bar guy. I'd rather have a drink at Sardi or something.
Okay. All right. MSR or medley to play? What would you rather play?
Solo or band?
Band.
Medley.
What would you rather judge? MSR or medley?
Depends on the grade.
Grade 1.
Medley.
All right. You keep the panel the same as it is, or a bigger panel at the Worlds?
Bigger. Much, much, much bigger.
What does it look like? Does it have an orchestra conductor in it, or does it have like 12 piping judges?
No, I think you just have a higher number of judges and you throw out highs and lows. And I think the first step is to add a bunch more and experiment with how to make it better, fairer. It needs to be more ensemble oriented again, I think, without, and Terry might argue with me here, I read too many sheets that sound like they're cookie cutter stamps. Like, talk to the pipe major for 30 seconds after in a real person's voice about what you thought of them, as if you were, like you or me or Terry, at a band workshop. You wouldn't put all of these key phrases down, which really mean nothing, I think. Yeah. And grade 1 guys don't need to hear them. They need to hear that was really good. I really liked what was happening, but it lost momentum for me at the end, and I'm not sure why you're playing this break so long here. And you're, okay, that's a real good tip, not this dribble.
All right. Beatles or Rolling Stones?
Beatles.
Sean Connery or Daniel Craig?
That's a tough one. I love them both.
Okay, have you ever hit a deer?
Daniel Craig.
Okay, have you ever hit a deer?
No.
Okay. Recommend a nice whiskey for us to have on a quiet night in a coronavirus lockdown.
A Macallan. Never go
All
wrong
right.
with Macallan.
That's the best place to end it, with a wee Macallan. Thank you very much, Bruce. I really appreciate the chat.
Thank you. It was great.
Great stuff, both of you guys. Thank you so much. We're going to finish off with Bruce's second video recording. It's an air, hornpipe, and jigs. Again, very cool that they're all Bruce Gandy original tunes. Brilliant to have you today, Bruce. Thank you so much for doing it. Say hi to the family. Hope everyone out there enjoyed this presentation. And shortly we'll be moving from Nova Scotia to British Columbia. Stay tuned. Thanks again. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye now.
All right.